Back in Denver, Coors Field, Clint Hurdle and the Colorado Rockies, winners 9-4 last night as this series opened. And ready for game 2. San Francisco will start with Ray Durham leading off at second, and then the veteran, the greatest fielding shortstop in history statistically, Omar Vizquel, followed by another pretty good defensive player, the first baseman J.T. Snow. Moises Alou batting cleanup, and after a slow start, Joe heating up over his last couple of weeks.
Well, he's the guy that's going to have to fill part of the void left by Barry Bonds, him hitting in the middle, but he's been injured and he's still not 100%. I mean, he still has some hangover effects from the virus he had the last week or so.
Mostly veterans, with the exception of the center fielder Jason Ellison, who bats 7th. Matheny catching. Brad Hennessy is on the mound. And you would think a team that, like San Francisco, is starved for offense would love coming to Coors Field. First 25 games this year, 5.5 per game, and they were at their high water mark. They've never been more than 3 games over 500. But the last 13, the offense almost disappearing, better than 3 runs per game, barely. And they're 8th in the National League. 4.6 runs per game. They will face 27-year-old right-hander Sean Chacon.
And Sean Chacon has pitched exceptionally well so far this season. He was a closer last year, but now he's back to starting, and he has pitched well in his last 3 starts, even though he lost. He's had a 3.38 earned run average in his last 3 starts, and he lost all 3 of them. They have not scored many runs when he's been on the mound, but he has pitched very well.
What he's being asked to do, something that no pitcher has ever done if he starts all this season. As you look at the defense lining up behind him, they lead the National League in errors. They have the lowest team fielding percentage, but they do have a 3-time Gold Glove winner at first.
And that probably saves them a few more errors, because he saves a lot of the infielders with his Gold Glove over at first base, meaning Todd Helton. But that's one of the problems they have. They lead the league in walks, which means you're putting a lot of guys on base, and they're lasting fielding, which means they're not handling plays once they get runners on base. And that's why they have such a poor record, especially on the road.
They are so far happy with the shortstop work they've seen from Barmas. Nowhere near, of course, what he's provided Hurdle at the plate. The young player who has wowed people with his defense is the right fielder, Brad Hawk. Outfield coach Dave Collins says he has never seen a more accurate throwing arm on an outfielder in his life.
That's pretty good, because that was one of the traits of Larry Walker. Larry Walker had a very accurate arm. He won Gold Gloves playing here in Coors Field, so that's saying a lot.
Well, as we said, Sean Chacon trying to do something no pitcher has ever done. Full-time starter until last year. Rockies made him the closer. He had 35 saves. Now back to the rotation this year. No pitcher in Major League history has ever gone from being exclusively a starter one year to exclusively a reliever in the next, and then exclusively a starter the 3rd season, as Durham swings at the first pitch. So if Chacon stays in his current role, he will make some Major League history. Veteran Durham at 266, hot lately. Last 16 games, the average has jumped 70 points. From 196 April 24th.
Well, he said to me that he has started to go the other way. He said he was pulling the ball too much from both sides, and last night he had a couple of balls hitting the right center field gap. He was hitting right-handed last night.
Holds up on that one. Jim Joyce at third says he didn't go 2-1. Laz Diaz behind the plate. Dana DeMuth at first, and Marty Foster at second. Ray Durham, a typical Giant, 33 in his 11th season, and he grounds to the second baseman Aaron Mines. So the leadoff man retired for the Giants.
And I would think that from a hitter's perspective, that little hesitation that Chacon throws into his motion out there would be distractive and maybe hurt you a little bit, make it more difficult to concentrate on just picking up the ball. If you watch, he has a slight hesitation to his delivery.
38-year-old Omar Vizquel in his 17th year. Vizquel looks at ball 1. Hitting a healthy 281, slumping lately though. 4 for his last 24. And a ball and a strike.
One of the things you always have to worry about when you're talking about, veteran players is how long can they sustain good starts, and, when do they reach a lull, and then they're able to pick it up again later on. But you're always going to have a lull when you're at that stage. When you're a little older, you might play an extra inning game that takes a little more out of you than a regular game, than a 9-inning game, and then before you know it, you're in a slight slump.
To left field, Holiday looks at it in foul ground, and it's out of play. 2-2. Only two teams are older than Felipe Alou's Giants, and the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Well, if you're the Giants, you say, well, the Red Sox won the World Championship last year. So, you say, well, and the Yankees are favored to be there again. So that doesn't alarm you too much if you're a Giants fan. Well, it shouldn't alarm you too much.
Definitely should be a comfortable group for Alou to work with, because last Friday in Houston, he won his 900th career game as a manager, the day after his 70th birthday. Better with age. 2-2 pitch is just foul. Look beyond Helton down the line. He'll come to him again. 2-2.
And the question that was asked of Felipe Alou was, are you going to try to get 1,000 wins, which would mean that he'd have to, go this season and next probably to make it. And he says he's not thinking about that right now. He'll see how this year plays out.
Left field, Holiday again ranging towards foul ground, and it is just foul. Boy, as close as it could be. Holiday with the dive. Can't quite get it. Vizquel robbed of extra bases by inches.
One of the things you talk about when you play up with young players, you're going to get a lot of energy out there on the field. You're going to get a lot of effort, and that's one of the things you get right there. That's a really good effort there by Holiday, and that's what you get with young players. I mean, they're just happy to be in the big leagues. They want to show you that they can play, and a lot of times that really helps you.
So another 2-2 from Chacon, and this one finally playable into very short center. Miles behind second base squeezes it. 2 gone in the first.
One of the oddities of this ballpark is that it's such a big outfield, because they try to make it big, obviously, because the ball carries so well. And one of the oddities is the fact that the outfielders play, there's a lot of room in front of the outfielders. There's a lot of little flares that will fall in, and I'm sure we'll have a couple tonight. But the outfielders have to play so deep that there's a bigger area between the infielders and the outfielders than you get at normal ballparks.
Ball 1 to J.T. Snow. Slightly bigger gap for him to shoot at in left center. Ball too low. 2-0. J.T. Snow having battled a gastrointestinal problem which cost him 8 games. This is his 3rd game back. And that one ripped right off the fence in front of the Rocky dugout.
I mean, he was so far in front of that pitch. You usually, when you're that far in front, you usually miss the pitch. But man, he pulled it foul.
All right, Chico.
3 balls and a strike. Chacon has been behind all 3 hitters here in the first. J.T. Snow, even before the illness hit, was starting to struggle. He is 0 for his last 13. And he lifts this one a little bit deeper than Vizquel's, but again handled by an infielder. Barmes has it. A 1-2-3 first for Chacon, and Barmes, the top hitter in the major leagues, will lead off the right. Some clouds starting to sneak in over Coors Field. Bottom of the first. And the lineup for Hurdle's Rockies today, beginning with Barmes with that .387 average, tops in the major leagues. Followed by Aaron Miles, Todd Helton, Preston Wilson, Brad Hawk, another impressive rookie at .323. Matt Holliday batting 6th in left, the catcher, the veteran Todd Green, young third baseman Garrett Atkins. And Chacon is facing 25-year-old right-hander Brad Hennessy.
Well, you can see he's 2-0. His earned run average is a little high. But the one thing that you like about him is he's a battler out there, and he goes after the hitters. But again, as I said, that he throws a lot of fastballs, and fastballs do have a tendency to go a long way here in Coors Field.
Barmes settles in. 2 more hits for him last night, and a 9-4 win for Colorado as this series opened.
This is the first time I've seen him in person. I've watched his highlights almost every night on SportsCenter.
Yeah, they're pretty unavoidable. Backhanded by Pedro Feliz, and Barmes is retired on the second pitch. San Francisco's defense not up to its usual standards. They're 13th in the National League in fielding percentage.
And that's one of their problems so far this year. They have, you know, you've got a couple of guys with Gold Glove, but the key is Ellison in center field. I mean, this guy's come in and just kind of taken over that position. Last year they got a lot from, you know, Marquise Grissom, but he's been injured a little bit, and he got off to a slow start as well. So Jason Ellison has been a real key to their success so far this year.
Aaron Miles lines a base hit to left field, and with one out, the Rockies second baseman is aboard. Miles, who last year led National League rookies at 293, and he has improved on that so far by 10 points this year.
Well, the one thing you can do here, if you're a line drive hitter, as Todd Helton was most of, you know, the first part of his career, there's a lot of space out there because the outfielders, as I say, play so deep. A lot of line drive, left center, right center.
First pitch ball to Helton, who last night set the franchise record. He played in his 1,171st game, breaking a record held by Larry Walker.
But ironically, it took Walker 9.5 years to do it, and it took Helton 7.5. So that tells you about a lot of the injuries that Larry Walker suffered throughout his career here in Colorado.
Well, he's about to pass Walker in a couple more categories. Just 2 more home runs, 38 more runs, and he'll have those franchise records too. Helton just 31. Seems like he should be older.
You're right. I mean, it seems like he's been in the big leagues forever, winning batting titles and just driving in a lot of runs. And he's one of those guys that has fared well away from Coors Field. He's had great success here, but he's also fared well away from here.
Miles at first, 1 out in the first, and a ball and 2 strikes. Todd Helton, making history last year in his 7th year, became the only player ever to hit .315, at least 25 homers, at least 95 driven in each of his first 7 big league seasons. And the career average tops in the majors, one of the best since World War II. He is out homered all 18 Hall of Fame first basemen, with the exception of Harmon Killebrew at a similar point in their careers. And using that same standard, only Lou Gehrig and Hank Greenberg had more runs driven in at this point in their careers. So he has set some history, and he's battled what has to be, Joe, a temptation to be very frustrated as the years go by and non-contender after non-contender plays here in Denver.
Well, I would think he's very frustrated.
3 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, this is a situation, if you're Hennessy, you have to make something happen 2-2 instead of 3-2. Because with Todd Helton there, they automatically run the guy because he puts the ball in play. So you're going to take away the chance of a ground ball double play more than likely, unless it's hit on 1 hop or someplace.
Going on the 3-2, and he'll have to come back. Those who are around Helton every day says they say you never see any evidence, if he is frustrated, at seeing his career go by and not even sniffing the postseason.
Well, there's something to be said about just playing the game and enjoying the game as well. I know we all want to play on championship teams, but I mean, it's not a birthright. It's something you do, and if you're lucky enough to be in that position.
With the runner going, popped up, and this will be back behind the dugout.
Ooh.
And that can be painful. Watch out over there.
Man,
He'll shake it off, I think.
I don't know if he's going to shake that off or not. Now you understand why when they foul him back here, I try to get out of the way. I mean, he's going to have a headache for a long time. Make no mistake about it, that ball hurts. Man.
Usher's calling for medical help for that gentleman. He took a tumble over the row in front of him. We hope he's okay. Again, Miles going, and again fouled off.
He actually fooled Helton a little bit on the speed of that pitch, but he's such a good hitter. He kept the bat level a long time, and he was shooting it toward left field. It's interesting the way they're playing him defensively. Durham is playing very close to second base, giving him a lot of hole on the right side. And then when they send the runner, look at all this room over here. And when they send the runner, he's going to have two big holes to shoot at. And you don't like to do that with a guy like Todd Helton,
who sees the 9th pitch of this at bat and lines a base hit to left.
Yeah.
Miles being waved around. Ellison up with it. The relay at the plate not in time. 1-0 Rockies.
And that's another example of this huge outfield. They could not cut the angle off. It was a line drive through shortstop. And as I pointed out, you're giving this guy too much of a hole when you send the shortstop to cover. Look at all this hole he's got over there. Now that ball is not hit in the gap, but it's such a big outfield that by the time they cut it off, they have to run at such a deep angle that just to cut it off, they're not able to get the ball back in time, and Miles is able to score. I'll have to show you something later, try to draw, because when you have to go at a deep angle, it gives the base runner a lot more time to run.
A double for Helton. 19th run batted in. Preston Wilson now the cleanup hitter. Second to Barmas with his 21 runs batted in, all but 2 of which have come here at Coors Field. Not much off Preston's bat on the road so far. Feliz handling the chopper, holding Helton at second, 2 gone.
But I mentioned before about how deep the outfield was, and that's one of the other reasons that there's so many runs scored here. See, when the ball goes out here, like we saw this one go here, the outfielder has to run this way. On other places, you run here and cut it off, and they would have been able to stop him. But when you have to go that deep to get just to cut the ball off, the angle is so deep that runners can go from first to third or even score, as we saw there. And that's another problem with the ballpark. And it's very easy to hit the ball out of the ballpark as well. So that's why so many runs are scored here.
Brad Hawk goes after the first pitch, bloops it in front of Alou, and another base hit, the 3rd of the inning.
And there's the other reason, as I said earlier, you're going to see bloops fall in front of guys because they have to play so deep to cut those angles off. And when you do that, the ball drops in front of you.
And Helton scores to make it a 2-run first for the Rockies.
You know, we've talked about a lot of ballparks being good hitters' parks. This is the greatest hitters' park I've ever seen because, you see, Moises Alou playing deep, he can't get there. It allows you to be a singles hitter, allows you to be a home run hitter, allows you to be an extra base hitter. It helps you in every phase of the game when you're standing in the batter's box in this ballpark.
So 2 runs in. Opp, who went after the first pitch at first, and here's Matt Holliday. Opp bringing Helton home. Holliday, another young Rocky starter, 2nd year. Native of Stillwater, Oklahoma, where his father Tom used to coach the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
What happens in this ballpark, the Giants have seen 2 balls that were hit and 2 runs scored. One was a bloop, the other was a line drive in the gap. They're just hoping that they get the same breaks when they get to the plate. They can hit the same types of balls because they will fall in.
Driven to center. Ellison ranging a bit to his right. But the Rockies on 3 first-inning hits, including a double by Helton. Well, if you want to be noticed in a crowd, this is a gentleman who has figured that completely out here. And our field facts presented by Scott's Coors Field, a Mile High, opened in '95 after they played their first 2 years at Mile High Stadium, and now make it 822 games played. They have never had a 1-0 final in the history of this park, and they won't tonight.
No.
Moises Alou recovering from a very slow start after his 3 years with the Cubs. First 9 games with the Giants, only 4 for 27, 148. Last 14, more like it, 320. And 11 driven in those 14. This one popped into right center field, and Hawk, the right fielder, is under it.
I want to clarify what I was talking about this being the best ballpark in the majors to hit in. It helped, you know, if you look at a place like Petco, it helps the singles hitter. You look at a place like the game, what's the place in Houston? Minute Maid. It helps the slugger. But this ballpark helps the singles hitter, it helps the gap hitter, and it helps the slugger. It helps you, any type of hitter that you choose to be, this ballpark helps.
Pedro Feliz stroking one down the line. Waiting for that first pitch from Chacon. Burning for second. The throw by Holiday not quite in time, and a one-out double for the Giants' third baseman, who is the first base runner allowed by Chacon.
And again, you see the fact that they play deep, they have to go to a different angle to cut the ball off. And this would be a single in most ballparks. But because the guy is able to cut it off, the left fielder is able to, Holiday is able to get over there and cut it off. And watch, he gets to it, but look how deep he has to go to get it. And that makes it a longer throw, and he just barely misses getting Feliz at second.
Scoring position, one out. Michael Tucker swings at the first pitch.
And let's watch Feliz. He made sure he was going to go all the way, and he makes it easily. Not easily, but it's not as close as it appeared there. And you have Louis Pujols at first base was waving him from the time he hit it.
As was Mike Gallego, the Rockies' third baseman, in the first inning, with Miles scoring on the double by Hilton. Somebody who obviously should know exactly, with the dimensions of this park, what throw, what relay is possible to cut down a runner at the plate.
And that does help you. I mean, if you play here a lot, you know how to try to defend the opposition. You just get a slight edge, but this ballpark is just favorable to scoring runs.
0-2 to Tucker. Off speed and just a little away, 1-2. Tucker, a typical Giant, 33, his 11th year. And pretty productive in only 80 at-bats this year. Tied for 5th in Giant runs batted in. First strikeout for Chacon.
Very smart pitch right there. They know that Tucker does not handle the off-speed pitches well, and that's why he tried the 0-2 pitch, but then he says, I'll just throw the fastball right by you up. He won't throw that fastball for a strike because Tucker may catch up with it, but upstairs you can't catch up with it.
Sean Chacon with, at times, electric stuff, but not really a strikeout pitcher. He's got, even with that one, 4 more walks than strikeouts so far this year. In time for Jason Ellison, an atypical Giant. To compare him to Tucker, Ellison a rookie. They don't have many of those. But an experienced rookie. It's 27. A 22nd round pick in 2000. Off the beaten path from Lewis and Clark State College, Lewiston, Idaho. That one out of play on the right side.
I talked to Marquise Grissom before the game, and he is very impressed with Ellison. He says this guy is not afraid of anything. He's a guy that's aggressive, and he just loves to watch him play. He has no fear about being successful here in the major leagues. He knows he's going to be a good hitter, he says, and a good player.
Succeeded as much as you can at his level. NAIA, 2 national champions. And in one of those, 1999, he was the MVP of the NAIA World Series. So he kind of got used to the biggest stage possible at the level where he was playing before he ever became a Giant. Career in the minors, almost 300. One of their best base stealers. They had him up for a brief look, 7 games 2 years ago, 13 games last year. And 20th game in center field here tonight. Atkins right at it. And only the one-out double by Feliz. Chacon working a strong first 2. Rockies leading by 2. 2-0 Rockies, bottom of the second. The NBA playoffs on ESPN continue Thursday night at 10:30 Eastern. San Antonio tries to finish off the Seattle Sonics. Spurs last night taking a 3-2 lead. 39 points by Manu Ginobili. He went wild. NBA playoffs also available in Spanish, ESPN Deportes, and high definition ESPN HD. Thursday, 10:30 Eastern, in a series in which the home team has won every game so far. Spurs lost the first game in Seattle by 1. They had a chance to go up 3-0, and Seattle since then has made it a competitive series, but the Spurs try to end it and move on to the West Finals tomorrow night. Bottom third of the order, Todd Green, Garrett Atkins, Sean Chacon, and the Rockies' second inning leading 2-0. 10-year veteran, 34-year-old Todd Green. 0-2. Green playing more than they expected him to, because J.D. Closser, they hope the catcher of the future, has not hit the way they expected him to. And Green has surpassed expectations at 290. His second straight strong year. Rockies signed him as a free agent. He had never played in the National League. 2 years at Texas before then. Closser again tonight, learning from that spot, watching Green. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Angels at one point in the mid-90s thought Todd Green was a star in the making, and injuries prevented that from happening. Right back to Hennessy. Great reaction.
They got leather on it. That's the main thing. It's funny why he finishes his motion and his glove is in that same area. That's why it's easy. That's why he was able to get his glove on. Watch where his glove ends up. Right there.
Like a guided missile.
Yeah. But if his glove ends up higher, he would. That matter. It's in a perfect position to catch that ball.
Garrett Atkins, 25-year-old rookie third baseman with a check swing. Durham. 2 quick outs for Hennessy in the second. Brad Hennessy, former first-round pick out of Youngstown State, a native of Toledo, who 3 years ago had some pain just below his neck. He thought it was a pulled muscle, but it got to the point where even a sneeze or a cough became excruciating. So he got it checked out. Turned out there was a quarter-size mass on a vertebra. They had to drill through bone on the biopsy, which, after waiting for 3 days, Hennessy discovered was thankfully benign. Said it really helped that his wife Erin is a nurse. She helped him through that. The pain returned a few months later. They had to go through the entire process and remove the second tumor, which was also benign. And that second procedure actually doing a fusion close to the spine. But because of that experience, Brad Hennessy has a perspective on baseball, Joe, that very few would care to have to earn that way, but very few ever gain.
Well, you're right. I mean, that does give you a better perspective about everything in life, not just baseball.
Well, behind the pitcher and walk, Sean Chacon on 5 pitches. First walk issued by Hennessy. And let's check in for the first time with Dave Revson in the studio.
Thank you, Dave. Here with Larry Boa as well. Devil Rays and Tigers. Dimitri Young giving Detroit the lead here, Larry.
Well, Dave, this is a fastball down and in, and Dimitri Young spins on, and this ball gets out in a hurry.
Makes it 2-1. 6th of the year for him, though. First since April 25th. Tigers on top 3-1.
So Hennessy, walking Chacon, now has to deal with Barmas. Major League leading hitter. He got him to ground to third first time up. 384. To the box, and he is 0 for 2. So Hennessy has handled Barmas the way few have so far this year. Sean Chacon from Greeley, local the third we go. Mike Matheny, Brad Hennessy, and then the top of the order, Ray Durham, against Sean Chacon, native of Anchorage, Alaska, but a product of Central High School in Greeley, Colorado. Here's Matheny hitting .252. 34-year-old, 12-year veteran. All 5 years with the Cardinals, part of their great run, part of their National League Championship run last year. Third Gold Glove. He has set major league records for defensive excellence and consistency. That one sails right over his cap. Ball 2, a doozy.
Well, there wasn't any chance of that being called a strike. I mean, this fastball goes right over his head. He actually ducks a little late, but at least he got out of the way.
3 balls and a strike. Mike Matheny last year saw record streaks end. 252 consecutive errorless games, 1,565 consecutive errorless chances handled behind the plate. And one of only 3 catchers with at least 100 games in a season to go an entire season without a single error. High in the air, deep left field, and Holiday watches this one sail way out of here. Mike Matheny, a leadoff homer, his 4th of the year, and the Giants are on the board.
Well, if you get the ball in the air here, it will carry. And he seems also he made good contact with this one as well. Looked like it was a fastball. It was up toward the inner half, and as soon as he hits it, everybody in the ballpark knows it's gone. But Chacon fell behind 3-1 and had to come in.
Now Hennessy, who sees his deficit cut in half thanks to the shot by Matheny. Chacon in the first 2 innings had allowed only 1 base runner. That was a double with 1 out in the second by Pedro Feliz. 1 for 6 so far for Hennessy in his first 2 starts. Chacon not coming right after him. Well, Hennessy didn't come right after Chacon.
Well, it's kind of interesting because, I mean, you have to go after the pitcher. You can't fall in love with, trying to get him out by making great pitches. I mean, you can do that after you get ahead in the count, but you have to stay ahead of pitchers.
Now he's got him, second strikeout. Sean Chacon was the first Rocky ever drafted out of a Colorado high school. 3rd round in '96 out of Greeley Central, where he was undefeated as a senior. Helped his club to a state championship and draw a common sight. Lots of radar guns to his every outing that season in '95. 2 years ago, looked as if he was a star on the rise. Made the All-Star team with a terrific start. Only the 2nd Rocky pitcher ever to make the All-Star team. Second half of that season, he dropped off. All 11 of his wins were before the All-Star break. In fact, that year he finished 11-8. Last year, 1-9 as a closer. And he became the first pitcher in Major League history with at least 20 saves and an ERA over 7. You would never think that would be possible. 35 saves. But he also blew 9. That was tied for the most in the National League. Durham also down on strikes.
Well, he got ahead of Durham, and that's the good breaking ball that he does throw. He starts it near the strike zone. It breaks out, and Durham way out in front. Good curveball. It bounces on the plate. Durham way out in front of the pitch.
Back-to-back Ks. Omar Vizquel. First time up, popped to second. Sean Chacon trying to do what only Billy Koch and Kaz Sasaki before him have done, and he gets Omar Vizquel on a grounder back behind the bag at second, but a leadoff homer by Matheny puts the Giants on the board.
Your chase.
Dave Barnett, Joe Morgan on the front range of the Rocky Mountains. Coors Field, Denver, Colorado, bottom of the third, and the Rockies leading 2-1. Aaron Miles, Todd Helton, Preston Wilson in the bottom of the third. Miles, who singled and scored on Helton's double in the first. Helton would then come around on Brad Hopp's RBI single. Brad Hennessy has won his first 2 starts. If he wins tonight, he will become only the 3rd Giants rookie since 1960 to win each of his first 3 starts of the season. That 1960 rookie was Juan Marichal, who proved not to be a flash in the pan. Didn't happen again until 2003, and Kurt Ainsworth did it that year. Vizquel throws out Miles. 1 gone in the third. Major League Baseball action continues on ESPN with Sunday Night Baseball. Eric Chavez, the Oakland Athletics, against these San Francisco Giants, their neighbors from across the bay. A's Giants, also available in Spanish on ESPN Deportes and high definition on ESPN HD. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Bank of America, ESPN 8 Eastern.
I think we're going to get Barry Zito for the A's and Noah Lowry, 2 left-handers. Lowry will pitch, of course, for the Giants. Lowry got off to a great start last year as well. He has struggled this year also. And so has Zito.
Lowry, in fact, batted around pretty good last night in a 9-4 Rocky win.
There he is.
That's good to see.
Yeah. That is good to see.
Gentleman who fell over the row in front of him in pursuit of a foul ball and had to have medical attention. Back with a smile on his face. Helton rips one, and that scatters some of the other side of the stadium.
I don't think his medical attention was for falling over. I think it's that ball hitting him in the head. And I think that ball bounced off his neck or shoulder or head someplace. But it's good to see him back. I hate to see a guy pay for a ticket and then have to pay for medical attention as well.
He's still rubbing it off. He's, I think, going to feel that for a while.
Yeah, oh yeah, you'll have a headache for a while.
To left field, Moises Alou ranging toward the line and just barely in fair territory retires Helton. Back to the studio, an update from Dave Revson and Larry Bowen.
Hey, Dave, it's Cardinals and Phillies. Albert Pujols just hammering one off John Lieber.
Dave, when you make a mistake to a great hitter like Pujols, he crushes this hanging slider.
Just his 2nd ever against the Phils, fewest against any NL team. It's 2-0 over on ESPN.
2-1 here on ESPN 2. And with 2 outs in the third, Wilson with a liner. Easy play for Durham at second. First 1-2-3 inning for Brad Hennessy on 10 pitches. He keeps it 2-1. Back at Coors Field for the 4th inning. 2-1 Rockies. 3, 4, and 5 hitters Giants will send up against Sean Chacon, JT Snow, Moises Alou, and Pedro Feliz. Giants trying to end a 3-game losing streak. Better pitching so far tonight after a 9-0 loss to Houston Sunday and a 9-4 loss beginning this series here last night. It's a Rocky team they've handled pretty well, and they've seen a lot of. They've already played 2 series. This is the 2nd series here in Denver, and the Giants won 5 of the first 6 meetings. But 18-20. San Diego beating Atlanta this afternoon 8-4. Dropped San Francisco 4th place, 5.5 behind the Padres in the NL West. JT Snow bounces out to the Rockies first baseman Todd Helton.
With the fact that Barry Bonds has not played yet, I really think the Padres have the best team in the National League West. You know, Dodgers got off to a great start, and you know, obviously they're a good team as well. But I think the Padres have the best overall talent, the most complete team. and we'll see how that goes. You know, Arizona, of course, is hung in there as well, but I still think the Padres have the best team.
Well, it's going to be a horse race. We know that. And Moises Alou knows about horse races and has made his picks for the Preakness. And he does not see a triple crown in the works for Giacomo.
Well, I guess the question is, who did he pick in the Kentucky Derby? I mean, whether we need to know that before we put any, you know, credence to his pick.
Well, I bet it wasn't Giacomo, because almost nobody picked Giacomo.
I agree.
Moises has a stable in the Dominican Republic of some 70 horses, about half of which race. So he's more than just a semi-interested fan. Falls behind Chacon 3-0, comes back with a strike, 3-1.
Yeah, he has a lot of horses, right? I mean, he's told me that he just loves horses. He breeds them, and you know, maybe one of these days he'll get a winner.
Back behind second base, Barmas, 2 quick outs in the 4th.
You know, this is the first time, as I said, I've seen Barmas, and I wanted to see what kind of player he really is, because I've heard a lot and read a lot. The things I watch for as a hitter, I watch to see how the ball comes off his bat. If it jumps off, in the first inning the ball did. It was a live bat. And I watch him in the field. He's got very quick feet. You know, you have to be able to move around quickly. You know, I've always said you have to be able to dance to be a middle infielder, shortstop or second base, because you have to be light on your feet. And from watching him there, he moves very quickly to his left and slides very well with his footwork.
Not to mention the fact he leads the major leagues at the plate.
Yeah, we're not going to, you know, worry about that.
It's almost like a bonus point.
Yeah, it is.
Matched against the best ever at that position, Omar Vizquel, tonight and in this series. A ball and a strike to Feliz, who doubled. That is still the best he's done against Sean Chacon this year. He was only 3 for his first 15. Had not succeeded at all against the Rocky starter, but he got off to a good start in his first at bat. And again, Chacon falling behind. He fought back to get Alou. Also 3-1 behind Feliz.
I don't know if I should argue with you about Vizquel being the best ever.
Well, statistically.
All right, because Ozzie Smith is there too.
Well, that's an argument that you can throw 4 or 5 names in there. But
no,
in
just Ozzie Smith.
Well, in terms of just career fielding percentage, Vizquel is the best, but he has not won 13 Gold Gloves the way Ozzie Smith did.
Yeah, and that's interesting because a lot of people put more credence to the fielding percentages than they do just how good a guy plays. But the Gold Glove is not about fielding percentages. It's about whom the coaches think is the best shortstop or whatever.
3-2 pitch brings Holiday in a few steps. 6 in a row retired by Chacon after the leadoff homer in the 3rd by Mike Buffini. Coming up, we'll look at the great history from Venezuelans at that position back here in Denver in a moment. In the bottom of the 4th, the Rockies trying to add to a 2-1 lead. Brad Hawk, Matt Holliday, Todd Green up against Tennessee. And we've opened Pandora's box, I fear, when we talk about how do you judge the great shortstops.
No, but I think that was a very good question. I mean, it was a very good point you made, you know, because you can't argue he's the greatest shortstop because percentage-wise says he is, all right? But Ozzie Smith won more Gold Gloves. But I'm not speaking just of shortstop. I'm speaking of every position. How do you judge a guy? I mean, on the errors he makes or fewest errors, etc. And the one thing I remember is that Ernie Banks never won any Gold Gloves at shortstop because he didn't cover any ground.
But he got to everything
he got to, he caught. Yeah.
Well, Vizquel squeezing that easy pop up off the bat of Hop.
But the best shortstop, go ahead. Vizquel.
In terms of Gold Gloves, it's Ozzie. Vizquel tied with Luis Aparicio, 2nd in Gold Gloves with 6. But he says that his true role model was your old buddy in Cincinnati, Davey Concepcion. As Holiday drives this one to center, fairly deep. Ellison in front of the track, out number 2. Omar with some fond memories of studying the former Red Concepcion.
We got two different style of game, but I always saw David Concepcion playing in the Cincinnati Reds machine, and then in Venezuela when he go play, of course, I used to see by the third base side, I used to see David turning double plays and making all those plays that he used to make.
You know, it was very interesting what he said there, that we had two different styles. David Concepcion was a power playing shortstop. I mean, he had a strong arm, got to everything.
Brilliantly by Feliz, and he robs Todd Green.
And we'll have to continue that conversation when we return.
Tennessee's retired 7 straight on just 17 pitches. Still 2-1. Dave Barnett, Joe Morgan in a pitcher's duel. You don't see many of those here at Coors Field. It's 2-1. And Michael Tucker drops a beauty of a bunt down the third base line, and Atkins had no chance to catch Tucker. Only the third hit allowed by Chacon. Let's get an update from Dave Revson and Larry Boa.
Thank you, Dave. Cards and Phil's research Albert Pujols going deep. Here's Yadier Molina following suit.
Well, Dave, that's the same pitch, a hanging slider, and it doesn't take much to hit it out of that ballpark in Philadelphia.
First of the year for Molina, and then the Cards also getting great D as usual.
This is a web gem right here. Jim Edmonds makes a great play, then hits the wall and hangs on.
Robbing Jimmy Rollins right there, so it's still 5-0 St. Louis, bottom 4.
Cardinals running away with the Central. 5 games up, beginning play tonight. Good breaking ball, strike 1 to Jason Ellison.
And Dave, I want to finish my conversation about David Concepcion. He was more of a power shortstop. Vizquel was a finesse shortstop. That's what he means by they were completely different styles.
And when you say power shortstop, defensively, what do you mean by power shortstop? Left center. Left fielder Holiday has it for the first out.
Here's a quick look at Davey. Let's see, and I'll explain what I mean after we see this little.
Five Gold Gloves. He could range about 15 feet away from first base if that was what was called on, and make the leaping grab as well.
And before Ozzie Smith came on, Davey was the greatest defensive shortstop I'd ever seen. And I've seen a lot of them. But what I mean by power shortstop, Davey had a stronger arm than Vizquel. Vizquel gets rid of the ball quickly. You know, you see him barehand the ball and flip it. Davey had a strong arm, and he would wind up sometime and just let it go. He was more, Sean Dunston was very similar. Sean Dunston had the best arm I think I've ever seen on a shortstop. But David Concepcion had a very strong arm, and he was a power player from that position. See, David would go in the hole, he'd catch it, plant himself, and string a throw across the infield and get you. Whereas a lot of guys, they go out and they've got to get rid of it quickly. But Davey had the power in his arm to play that way, and so did Sean Dunston. And Davey was the first one to start bouncing that one hopper on AstroTurf from deep in the hole as well.
Center field, Preston Wilson. And Matheny, who led off the third with his 4th home run of the year, is out number 2 here in the 5th. Well, if you didn't include statistics, if all you did was judge what you saw,
right,
Ozzie Smith has got to be at the top of everybody's list because he's made plays no other shortstop has ever made.
He made the greatest play I've ever seen by anybody, whether it's shortstop or any other position player.
The backhand?
No, the play he made against
barehand?
Barehand, yeah. He was playing for the Padres at the time. Jeff Burrows hit a line drive, one hopper up the middle. He dove for it, stretched his glove hand out to catch it. The ball hit a rock and bounced behind him. He reached back barehanded and in the air, got up and threw him out. That's the best play I've ever seen, by an infielder. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's kind of the baseball equivalent of some of the things Michael Jordan did.
Right. Yeah.
Human beings simply don't do those things.
Well, it shows not only athletic ability, but great concentration, great hand-eye coordination. I mean, it just shows you everything in one package right there on that play. And I've seen Vizquel come across. He finished up a no-hitter once by barehanding the ball behind the bag. And Chris Bosio, I think, I was watching the game on TV. I said, oh, no. Because I thought you barehanded. I said, man, that's making a tough play out of it. Here's the game-ending play of his Chris Boswell's no-hitter.
And right here, you're saying, oh no.
Exactly.
And then he makes it look easy.
Play, yeah.
Like, what were you worried about?
Yeah.
And earlier in his career, before his greatness with the terrific Cleveland Indian teams of the 90s.
And one guy that I want to mention as well, because when I was a kid, I used to watch television, and I used to love to watch Chico Carrasquel play. He was from Venezuela, too. He was kind of the first, then I guess Aparicio, David Concepcion, it's been, and Vizquel, there's a long line of excellent players.
Brad Hennessy strikes out for the second time after the leadoff bunt by Tucker. We're still 2-1 bottom of the fifth. The Boys and Girls Clubs of America, the official charity of Major League Baseball. Together, they create a positive place for kids.
You were talking about Michael Jordan and how great he was. Maury Wills as a base stealer was Michael Jordan. I mean, no one could stop him. He could steal a base off of any pitcher, any catcher, in any situation, even when they were going.
Garrett Atkins. First pitch, Vizquel bobbles it, and you will hardly ever see that. Atkins is aboard.
Yeah.
And just as we're singing his praises, there's one he can't handle.
Yeah, but he's got to handle that one. I mean, I think he just felt like he was going to be able to make a routine play out of it, and he didn't get over there far enough. I guarantee he will tell you that he's supposed to make that play.
But they call it an infield hit.
See, he's there. And he hits, he actually runs past it a little bit. Maybe that's why he missed it. He ran past, watch, he goes past it. See, he's there. And I think you have to score it as a base hit because, he did backhand the ball in the hole. But as we were talking about, if you're the greatest shortstop ever.
You make that play?
You make that play. He'll tell you that as well, I guarantee you.
First hit for the Rockies since they scored their 2 in the first. And that came on a Miles single, a Helton double, and a Hopp single. Now Chacon trying to bunt Atkins into scoring position.
And as we remember, he was a closer last year, so he wasn't asked to do this very often. Closers very rarely even get to hit.
And what he was asked to do last year, I said earlier, only Billy Koch and Kaz Sasaki had ever been asked to do in Major League history, and that is save 30 or more without ever having appeared out of the bullpen in a Major League game before the season. Koch did it in '99 with Toronto, Sasaki 2000 with Seattle. So after Chacon had that role last year, back to the rotation this year, and if he starts all this year, he'll become the first ever in the history of the major leagues to go from being exclusively a starter one year to exclusively a reliever in the next year, and then exclusively a starter again in the third season. The issue at hand, though, is helped himself offensively, and the 2-2 pitch, he still tries to bunt, and he bunts it foul. So he cannot advance Garrett Atkins. Now up to the top of the order, Clint Barmas.
Interesting. That's the first strikeout for Hennessy.
Barmas 0 for 2, 2 grounders. Major League leading 382. The natural question when a Rocky has numbers as good as Barmas is, how's he doing away from Coors Field? Well, not as well as he is here. But most people will take a road average of 333. Now that's about 90 points below his home average. But 333 on the road, Todd Helton's happy with that. Anybody's happy.
Yeah, and again, this is a much better hitting ballpark than he's going to find any place on the road. And obviously he hasn't been on the road nearly as much as he's been at home, with only 6 RBIs, hitting at 333. 1 home run on the road.
He is up there to swing 165 plate appearances, has walked only 6 times. Atkins at first, infield single. Fourth allowed by Hennessy. Pitch out. It was on, and Matheny's throw is there waiting for Garrett Atkins.
And that was a pretty good call there by the Giants. You know, to feel that they might hit and run, because it was a perfect hit and run situation. 1 ball, no strike, with a good contact hitter up there. But the Giants saw that it was coming and pitched out, and it was easy.
Well, this is how you want to deal with Barmas. 2 outs, nobody on. Hennessy falls behind 3-0. Felipe Alou right on the money with that call. 3rd start of the year for young Brad Hennessy. 25-year-old rookie out of Toledo, former 1st-round pick from Youngstown State. And Barmas is aboard with only his 7th base on balls this season. Infield single and a walk. 2 outs here in the 5th. Aaron Miles now, who singled, scored the 1st run back in the 1st, and last time grounded to short. Sean Chacon allowing only a Matheny home run in the 3rd. Besides that, only 2 other hits by the Giants. So a couple of strong starts here. Hennessy in just his 10th major league start. Giants have done well in the previous 9. They're 7-2. Most notable of which was last August 8th. He was the first pitcher in 103 years to make his major league debut against a pitcher who won his 300th game in that afternoon, that being, of course, Greg Maddux. Tennessee that afternoon, a mere footnote at SBC Park as Maddux made history. That is going to hug the line and drop just foul. And the fans not liking this call by Jim Joyce down at 3rd. 0-2 to Miles. Well, Joyce had one previously that was about 2 inches foul, and he nailed that call. How close was this one?
Yeah, that one.
About the same.
Yeah, that one you can clearly see that it hit on the foul side.
Staff has needed an outing like this from Hennessy. They are 14th in the National League, both overall and the starting staff.
That pitch out wasn't really, I don't think, to catch the base runner, because you don't run 0-2. But I think it was just to let them know that they think they have their signs and we're going to be watching closely. Because 0-2, if you're a base runner, you're not going to try to steal 0-2, because that's a waste pitch, usually up and away.
Barmas not going here either. Foul back.
Sometimes you just pitch out to make them think that you're looking for the stolen base or you're looking for the hit and run or whatever. Because 0-2 is not, you know, a normal pitch out sign. All you have to do is throw the ball up and away. You don't even have to pitch out, because you're going to waste the 0-2 pitch most of the time anyway.
Barmas only 3 for 7 so far on his stolen base attempts. Down there with 2 outs. Chacon strikes out. Atkins thrown out trying to steal. And a 1-2 pitch grounded through the hole, vacated by Vizquel, 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, but I don't think he was running. I don't know if Vizquel started towards second base. I mean, see, the runner's not going. I don't know why Vizquel, you see him go toward the bag. He broke towards second base. I don't know, some kind of miscommunication there.
Vizquel unable to come up with what was called an infield single to start this inning by Atkins, and Miles with that well-placed single continues the inning for Todd Helton, who goes after the first pitch and fouls it back.
And you do not want to continue to give Todd Helton a chance with runners in scoring position.
That double back in the 1st, Joe, Helton since the start of '98. 340 doubles, the most in the major leagues.
Well, this is a doubles ballpark. It's a home run hitter's ballpark, and it's a singles hitter's ballpark. So that doesn't surprise me with any of those types of statistics.
Ripped 0-2. And because of all that, if you're a Rockies fan and you have seen them for better than a decade now, try to build a staff that can survive the hitting conditions. You wonder if that's ever going to happen. Well, they can look down in Arlington, Texas, and see that there is right now an ongoing experiment in the American League by a team that's in similar circumstances, the Texas Rangers. They and pitching coach Orel Hershiser have declared that in that ballpark, which is the American League version of Coors, they can only succeed with a staff that keeps the ball down the way Hershiser did with the Dodgers. So he's teaching what he did so well. So far, his prize pupil would be Ryan Drees. But the young pitchers they have coming up through that system are learning the Hershiser system. And you'd think that long range, that's the only way Colorado can hope to contend here, is to get a staff that can keep it down and try to get ground ball outs. That's worked out the last couple of years in Arlington. Off the fifth, still 2-2.
I think the difference in those two ballparks, though, I think this is a better hitting ballpark. But the real difference is players say and pitchers say that the ball doesn't sink as well here as it does in other places because of the altitude and the less resistance. And the ball does not sink nearly as much. The curveball doesn't break as much. So it's harder to get the sinker down consistently here than, say, it would be in Texas. At least that's what the pitchers tell me. He balked.
On to third, Barmes. On to second, Miles.
Well, you know, what he did was he broke his hands with his foot on the rubber. You have to step off the rubber before you break your hands.
This is going to get pitching coach Dave Righetti out.
Now watch, he'll start up. He'll start up. Right there. See, he started a motion. He starts, anytime you start a movement forward like you're going to go to your glove, you have to step off. See right there, too late. You have to step off first. See, he stepped off afterwards. He had made the move. Now, you've got a place to put Todd Helton. That would be my thinking right now.
That's the first balk by a Giant pitcher this year. It comes to Helton, misses, runs the count forward.
Well, I think they're saying, okay, we have 2 strikes. If he wants to chase one, okay. But
and the unintentional intention.
Yeah, because, well, you don't want to, sometimes managers do not like to walk a guy with 2 strikes. But they did anyway, so why not just go ahead and watch it?
Same spot, bases loaded.
But, you know, they went after Todd Helton early in the at-bat. First pitch fastball, and Manny had a good swing at it. They're just throwing him fastballs in. That's supposed to be up. They're trying to get the ball up. You see the target? Then when he goes a changeup, he tries to get it down, up and in again. There's it. He's trying to stay away after he got behind. After his 2 strikes and the runners were at second and third, there was really no reason to pitch to him anymore.
So they pitch to Preston Wilson instead, 0 for 2. 4 base runners this inning, 1 cut down stealing. The other out, Chacon striking out. Wilson a chance to add to a 2-1 Rockies lead here in the 5th. And it's 2-0. Hennessy, who is 2-0 in his first 2 starts this year. Tough to hit. Opposition batting average just .229 against him. And the Rockies make him labor here in the 5th. 25th pitch this inning is back to the screen, 2-1.
And this is what happens to you in a place like Coors Field. What you end up having 1 inning where you're in a lot of trouble, and if you make a mistake, you know, the floodgates open, and that's what happens to you here, especially visitors.
Pitch number 73 in there at twisted knees, 2-2.
Excellent pitch there by Hennessy, keeping the ball down.
Matt Hergis loosening. Preston Wilson, former first-round pick by the Mets. Watches that one come in low. And Hennessy now a pitch away from walking in a run with what would be his third walk of the inning. He had walked only one in the first 4 innings. Rocky fans hoping he gives Wilson something to drive here and unload the bases. He pops it up right center. Ellison makes it a very frustrating fifth.
Wendy's, it's better here.
We're in the 6th, and a very unusual outing so far for Sean Chacon in that he has not walked a batter. Coming in, he walked 23 in 35 2/3 innings, and in his last 3 games had walked 18, but had dealt with his control abs as well. He had allowed only 2 of those 18 walks to score.
Well, the other interesting thing is a 2-1 ball game here at Coors Field.
Big reason it's only 2-1 because he's not putting people on.
I wanted to clarify something. We saw Omar Vizquel break for a second after a pitch out a while ago, and people might think, well, he maybe thought they were going to pitch out again. Well, if you pitch out and it's a left-handed hitter, the shortstop doesn't cover. The second baseman covers because all he can do is throw his bat at the ball and hit it to that side.
Second straight strikeout, 5 and counting for Chacon. Let's go to the studio and again join Dave Revson.
Thank you, Dave. Several sports commissioners and union officials on Capitol Hill today to testify before a House subcommittee. A proposed uniform testing policy for all American sports. Kind of a lukewarm reception. Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig, perhaps the most amenable there. Interesting piece of news from NBA Commissioner David Stern, who said that 3 players who had tested positive in the past few years for steroids in his game had either retired or left the game. More on SportsCenter, 11:30 Eastern Time.
Well, that might be the headline coming out of the hearing, because to this point the NBA had really steered clear of any steroids-oriented headlines.
Well, but I think that what they're saying there is that we took care of it ourselves, and they have done that. And what they're saying, that Congress is saying, is baseball has not done the same.
Well, we were given a pretty good preseason education on the whole steroids issue. We at ESPN, and if there's anything I think we learned from that, it is that it's almost impossible, if an athlete is really intent on not getting caught, to catch that athlete. But if there's a chance to do it, really the only way possible is to adopt the same standards as Olympic athletes.
Well, I don't know about the Olympic thing. Here's the problem I have.
Also called the world standard.
Okay, the one problem I have with the Olympic standard is that, the first time they suspend someone is for 2 years. Well, the Olympics only happens every 4th year. So the guy still has 2 years, to get ready for the Olympics. So I don't know if that's the exact thing to do for baseball or other sports.
Well, if you could figure the equivalent to that type of a suspension in an Olympic sport, then maybe you got something.
Yeah, maybe it makes a difference.
Current Major League standard is a 10-day suspension on the first violation. It goes up to 30 on the second, 60 on the third, a year on the fourth. The proposed standard would make the first violation 5 times more costly, and 100 games, about 2/3 of a season, on the second violation.
Well, the one thing I definitely agree with is 3 strikes and you're out. I mean, that would be something that I agree with. But, how you get to that point to me is not as important as the final stage there. The way the policy is now, obviously, you have to go through 5 times before, I guess, the commissioner can decide, well, you're finished.
1-1 to Snow. In tight 2-1. What makes it so hard for the people trying to catch the violators is that there are new and different drugs being invented all the time. So you can have a test that will catch current steroids, but you've got new things coming online all the time, and the people who are really intent on making that a part of their routine.
Well, there's more money in cheating than there is in catching cheaters.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And there's more money spent to help, you know, the other cheaters. But it was interesting in today's paper here in Colorado, there's an article by Bill Romanowski, who played here. And basically he said he beat the drug test all the time because he knew what they were testing for, and he would move to another area and just, like you say, stay ahead of it. He stayed ahead.
He may be the best, or depending on how you look at it, the worst we've ever seen in following that pattern.
It was an interesting story. I mean, I read it, and I guess I was a little bit amazed that he came out and said that, but we have a lot of people coming out now saying they did this, they did that.
Yeah, I took it as somebody, I took it as a guy who's now out of the limelight and wanting to look as if he is on the right side of the issue now that he's no longer in a position where he needs to take the drugs. Yeah. Snow singles, goes the other way with 2 outs to bring up Alou. That may or may not be his motivation, but that's what came to the story.
Well, if you read the story, we read the story, so I'm inclined to agree with you. I mean, your assessment there sounds that way to me as well. But as you say, we don't know anybody's motivation anymore.
Right. Moises Alou is 0 for 2. Snow at first. 2 outs in the 6th. And strike 1 on the breaking pitch. Chacon continues, even when he falls behind in the count, with the exception of Snow and very few other exceptions so far, to battle back. Matheny homered on a 3-1 pitch in the 3rd. That's still the only run allowed by Sean Chacon. Snow's base hit, only their 4th. Rockies scored their 2 in the 1st off Hennessy. Todd Helton with a double in between a pair of singles. Alou sends that one a long way, but hooks it foul.
Only it was an off-speed pitch, and he got way out in front of it, and he just swung it back with one hand, trying to keep it fair, but he couldn't. Watch how his body's out in front of this pitch, and he just kind of swings with one hand, trying to keep from rolling over with his right hand, trying to keep the barrel level and trying to keep the ball fair. But he was completely fooled by that pitch.
Not that one. 2-2. Alou, of course, reunited with his father Felipe, and becomes the 4th Alou. All of them now have played in a Giant uniform.
That's it. You know, that's a good point.
Includes Jesus and Matty.
Yeah, I grew up in San Francisco, so of course I saw, you know, Matty, Felipe, and Jesus play in the outfield together. They played in the outfield for the Giants, you know, there in 1963. They started a game, all 3 of them. Willie Mays sat down and let them play.
Nice of him.
Yeah.
Step back for history. 3-2 pitch, stroke to left. Holiday started back. That comes in. It ends the inning. So Chacon now through 6. 1 run on only 4 hits. And it remains 2-1 Colorado. Coors Field rarity, a pitching duel moving into the bottom of the 6th now. Hennessy and Chacon all the way. And after leaving the bases loaded in the 5th, the Rockies send up Brad Hawk, Matt Holliday, and Todd Green in the 6th. Brad Hawk with an RBI single in the 1st. Bounces one past a diving Durham.
Well, that's another thing about this ballpark. That infield looks very quick also. Ball kind of scoots through the infield.
Brad Hawk, 2 of the 6 hits allowed now by Hennessy. His first inning hit, scoring Todd Helton with the run that is the margin. Helton had driven in Miles with a double. Matt Holliday has fly to center twice. Last night, his first home run of the year. Ended a drought that had extended 138 at bats. Back to last year and rips and misses that first pitch.
I think you have to be impressed with both of these pitchers and how well they have held their composure even when things have, gotten a little bit sticky for them out there, especially Hennessy. And they've both pitched very well. They've showed that you can pitch here.
Sean Chacon has had one walk-free outing this year in his last 3 starts. Last start he walked 2. The one before that 7, and the one before that he walked 9. This is the same Sean Chacon who has walked free through 6 innings so far here.
Where were all those walks? Were they on the road or here? My reason for asking that is that sometimes, guys can pitch at home and they can tailor the mound to where they land. Whereas on the road, you have to take what is there.
The 7-walk game was at L.A., 9-walk game at Florida.
Right. See, I'm not making excuses, but a lot of times you tailor the mound to where you want to step.
Chopper just in time at second base as Vizquel nails Hop.
Yeah, but it was, the interesting thing, Durham was looking right into the sun. He could not, he could barely see the ball. I mean, he looked right into the sun. You can see the sun coming over there, and that ball came right out of the sun with Vizquel running toward the sun, throwing it to him. So a good play there by Durham just to get the out at second base, and a good play by Vizquel as well.
Fans having to deal with it.
Yeah.
And Vizquel also could have been distracted by Feliz going right in front of him. That could have knocked him off. That chopper off the bat of Holliday, but it didn't. And here's Todd Green, 0 for 2. Feliz robbed him. Last time up, he sent a 1-hop rocket down to third. Feliz handled it. Hennessy off speed, gets screen out in front, 0-1.
And when I was talking about seeing where Chacon walked all those guys, because you tailor the mound to your pitcher that particular day. They can do that. And you do the same thing with your batter's box. That's why the home team, in my opinion, always has an advantage. You fix the batter's box the way they like it, with the exact amount of clay in it, or loose dirt or more dirt. They put whatever you want. You can build your batter's box to suit your hitters, and you can build your pitching mound to suit your pitchers. Tomorrow, if someone else is pitching, they may want to land in a different spot. So you can tailor your mound to that pitcher tomorrow. If you're at home, you can't do any of those things on the road.
One hopper, barehanded by Vizquel, and again, only the out at second.
I told you he was more of a finesse guy. He doesn't need a glove.
Glove is just there for the Rockets. Otherwise, let's do it this way. Easy way.
But see, again, Durham is having trouble seeing the ball. The sun. See, Vizquel's right in the sun. The sun's right over his head. And a nice play there, actually, by Holliday to get down there and break up the double play, because you had a slower runner going, Green, to first base. If he could have avoided the slide, he may have been able to throw to first.
Garrett Atkins sends one to Ellison, and the Rockies are done in the 6th inning. On to the 7th here, and then 2-1 Colorado. Home Depot as the sun sets over the front range. Colorado, Dave Barnett and Joe Morgan. As Chacon continues to battle Hennessy. 1 run on 4 hits allowed by Sean Chacon. That on a 3rd inning leadoff home run by Mike Matheny. Pedro Feliz, who doubled in the 2nd, to lead off the Giants' 7th. Then Michael Tucker and Jason Ellison. Left field for Holliday. Ranging back, looks up, it is gone. Number 6 for Feliz to tie the game 2-2.
Now, Pedro Feliz is a guy that, the last couple of years the Giants have played him in a lot of different positions, but he's produced numbers in streaks. And then when he goes into a bad stretch, they seem to file him away for a while. But this guy has been a good player, and he's definitely capable of hitting over 30 home runs a year. And he just goes down, gets that ball, and just lines it out of here. That wasn't a bad pitch.
He had to go down and get that one.
Yeah.
Feliz last year hit 22. Number 6 here this year for Feliz, and both giant runs on leadoff homers. Matheny in the 3rd. Now Tucker following Feliz. Tucker, who reached on a bunt single to lead off the 5th inning.
And remember, as I said, Feliz has never had a permanent position. He plays left field sometimes, and now that Barry's out, plays third base. He plays first base. He's even played some shortstop. I think that's difficult for a young player, especially a guy that's trying to find his niche in the big leagues, to play all those different positions.
That was a 418-footer. And it's his first run batted in since May 7th, covering 9 games.
I have a question here. So would you take off 10% for the altitude?
That's usually the formula.
Yeah.
This one is deep down the line and right in Hook's foul.
I know if you're playing golf in this altitude and it says 150, well, you take off 10%, so it becomes a 135-yard shot. So if you're going to do that, that would be 376 feet. Yeah, if you're going to take the 10% off.
Marty Aronoff and his trusty calculator give us that computation. So it brings a smile to Pedro's face and brings us a new game. 2-2. Nobody out here in the 7th. 3-2 pitch. Should be easy for Miles. 1 gone. Tucker bunted for a hit last time up on a pretty hard infield. Something else that home parks can do to tailor things depending on what kind of team they have is cut the grass low, or if they have usually an aging infield, let it grow high.
Right. I remember when I first came to big leagues, the Cubs used to have the highest grass on the infield. Don Kessinger was a shortstop, Glenn Becker, Ron Santo on the left side, and they didn't, cover a lot of ground, so they let the grass grow because they could catch. They made plays on everything they got to.
Strike 1 to Jason Ellison, 0 for 2.
And I don't know if I said this, but in the batter's box in Cincinnati, I wanted it hard on our side, Pete Rose and I, and on the other side, Bench and Perez liked it soft so they could dig in. Rose and I didn't want to dig in too much.
Why didn't you want to dig in?
Well, I didn't need the leverage. Those guys that were hitting home runs, that was their power swing, their back foot, so they wanted to have it stabilized, and they'd dig in. And with the softer ground on that side, they could dig in. Rose and I we didn't dig in, so we didn't need it to be soft. We liked for it to be firm, so when you step, you could stay on the same level. You didn't want your spikes to go down or whatever. Everybody says, well, that's just a little bit on your spikes, but there's the difference between hitting a home run can be a 1/16 of an inch, and driving the ball or popping it up.
2-2 to Ellison. You saw the left-hander Scott Ear, who is now up in the San Francisco bullpen. We have the top 3 hitting rookies in baseball here today, with Barmas, who leads all hitters. Ellison at 362, 0 for 2 today, came in as the number 2 hitting rookie, and Brad Hopp of Colorado at 323 starting today was the number 3 hitting rookie.
And you can see how hard this infield is because those balls are bouncing and jumping at the infielders.
Garrett Atkins throws out Ellison, out number 2. Barmas at 387, and then Hopp, Ellison, Lance Niekro, another giant rookie who's off to an impressive start. Son of Joe Niekro, your former Astro teammate.
Yep.
Who is, in fact, out on deck.
It's interesting. I saw Victor Diaz down there from the Mets, and they just sent him to the minor leagues.
Mike Matheny, who led off the 3rd with his 4th home run of the year.
High fastball, and he got it way up in the air, and he just floated out of here.
And until Feliz and his 418-foot shot to lead off this inning, that was the only offense against Sean Chacon. 1-1 to Matheny. Necro has come out in case he gets a chance to pinch hit for Brad Henderson. Another one deep, but hook foul. It's about an equal number of rows back as the one that he hit fair.
The difference is this was a breaking ball off speed pitch. The other one was a fastball, so he was a little bit out in front of this one.
Matheny within 1 home run of his total for all of last year. Hit 5 in his 5th and final year with the Cardinals. Two 5-0 for the Giants, 2 6-0 for the Rockies. Chacon with his 112th pitch, 2-2. 66 strikes, 47 balls. Still has not walked a single hitter. Coming in, he had walked 5 more than he'd struck out. He has struck out 5 today. Well, he's got 23 of those for the year. Still 23 bases on balls. To center. Wilson ranging back, makes the catch on the run, but the Giants tie it up. Pedro Feliz with his 6th home run of the year. And we will see Barmas in the Rockies 7th 2-2 game.
Larry Bow, our SportsCenter in-game studios. Royals and the Orioles. John Buck getting Kansas City going early.
Well, Bruce Chen leaves his changeup up, and John Buck drives it over the right fielder's head, and he swung that bat real good. It was a mistake, and he did exactly what you're supposed to do with it.
Couple runs score, so Kansas City on top 3-0. It would be a short-lived lead, though, Larry. Melvin Mora going deep.
Melvin Mora gets a high fastball down the middle of the plate, and he just leaves a souvenir there for the fans.
8th homer of the year for Mora, 58th for the Orioles, which leads the majors. They are tied at 3, bottom 3.
And Dave, we're tied at 2, bottom of the 7th. Sean Chacon probably done with 113 pitches through his 7 innings, 5 hits, didn't walk anybody, struck out 5, but lost his lead on the home run by Feliz in the top half of this inning. Hennessy, who was about to be pinch hit for, has thrown far fewer than Chacon. That's his 83rd of the season. And Chacon, in fact, is pinch hit for here. Corey Sullivan, a 300 average, behind 0-2. So Chacon, with at this point nothing to show for one of the best outings, one of the most efficient outings he's had, not just this year, but ever since he became a starter. His 2nd stint going on right now as a starter in the Rockies rotation. Sullivan bounces out to Snow, 1 gone in the 7th.
Well, unless if he could have something to show if they could score some runs here in this inning, and then the Rockies hold on. So that's what he's hoping for.
1-3 record coming in. And the problem for him remains run support.
Right.
Last 3 starts, all losses, with 1.7 runs scored behind him. And his ERA was 3.38 in those 3 losses. So Chacon continues tonight to do his job. Now here's Barmas, who has walked in 3 trips. Average at 382. Hit pretty well, but Alou with a beat on it, 2 gone.
I think that ball got in on him a little bit.
The thing about Barmas and his start this year is there was no indication in his minor league career that he was capable of this. He didn't hit 300 in the minors until his 5th year, which was last year, 328 at Colorado Springs. This start he's off to this season, he never tore up minor league pitching the way he has major league pitching in his first extended look at it. Bounce through. Aaron Miles with his 3rd hit. Singled and scored in the 1st, singled in the 5th.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, if you're a pitcher here in this ballpark, you have to pitch here most of the time. They pitch 81 games here, of course. And this infield being as hard as it is, I mean, that ball just shot through the infield. He didn't hit it hard at all. And the fences being what they are, the ball carrying as well as they do. I mean, it's tough to keep your head up to pitch in the ballpark like this.
Well, Lewis made the call for his left-hander, Scott Air, and he will come on with 2 outs, 1 on here in the 7th in a 2-2 game.
ESPN2's Wednesday Night Baseball, built by the Home Depot. Brought to you by Toro. Count on it. And Days Inn, the best value under the sun.
2-2, 2 outs, bottom of the 7th. And Scott Air, the veteran 32-year-old, 9-year left-hander, has come on. Brad Hennessy departs after 6 2/3, 7 hits, walks 3, strikes out only the pitcher, Chacon. But he throws an efficient 88 pitches, and he leaves with Aaron Miles on first with 2 outs. Scott Air has been unscored on in 18 of his first 21 outings. Opposition hitting only 157 against him. Last 5 outings combined 4 1/3 scoreless. So Air to face left-handed hitting Todd Helton, who doubled in a run and scored in the first. Fly to left and walk. Helton, who last night became the Rockies' all-time leader in games played, tonight is 1,172. Breaking the record of Larry Walker.
You know what's interesting here, if you're the Rockies, to let the guy at first base take off, because if they get him and pick him off, would they lead Scott Air in to pitch to Helton, because the pitcher's the first hitter next inning? That's what I would do.
Jet swing strike. I repeat.
Yeah, because if he makes it, obviously you got to go ahead and run in scoring position. If he doesn't make it, what are they going to do with Scott Air? Are they going to leave him in, you know, let him go ahead and hit, or are they going to pinch hit for him, and then you have to bring in another pitcher to pitch to Todd Helton? Well, apparently they don't think the way that I do anyway, so there's
You're way ahead.
A little ahead of my time. No, but I mean, to me it makes a lot of sense. If I steal second base, now he's a base hit by one of the best hitters in the game, could put me ahead. If they throw him out, then he starts over next inning. You're not going to leave Scott Air in there because you have to hit.
Down at third, Jim Joy says no go, 2-1.
Because the pitcher spot is the leadoff for the Giants in the top of the 8th inning. They have to try to score a run. So you can't leave Scott Air in there thinking that you're leaving him in there to pitch to Todd Helton.
Scott Air, one of the best waiver claims in recent history. On waivers from Toronto, August 2002. 3 balls in the strike.
Well, it appears that they're going to walk him over there.
Well, that's what happened last time, and in that case there were 2 on. They walked Helton unintentionally, intentionally to load the bases for Preston Wilson. Hennessy got out of it by getting Wilson to fly to center, and the Rockies scored nothing in that inning, with Brower now the latest Giant to get up and get loose. So again, Helton will take first on the base on balls, first and second, with 2 outs for Preston Wilson.
And here comes Felipe Alou. Well, I guess he's going to double switch now.
As Diaz called over for Alou to announce his changes.
I think what's going to happen is Michael Tucker is going to go out of the ball game, and then you're going to have Edgardo Alfonso go to third, and then Felice go to the outfield, and everybody else move around.
So we'll break, and when we come back, we've got some news about Barry Bonds here in Denver. 2-2 in the 7th. 2-2, 2 on, 2 outs in the 7th. Here's our news on Barry Bonds. This reported by Jason Stark on ESPN.com. According to a number of sources, Jason reports that Barry Bonds is attached to a 24-hour IV full of antibiotics with no end in sight. He has him essentially immobilized for the foreseeable future. Barry Bonds, who's had already a couple of knee surgeries this year. So news that is not promising at all for Giant fans, hoping that at some point in the not too near future, Bonds will be able to live up to his pledge made earlier at SBC Park that he would return this year. Jim Brower is on for the 23rd time. Sky high 6.75 earned run average. 1-0 to Preston Wilson. Helton at first. Miles at second. Way out in front to even the count. Aaron Miles at second. He singled with 2 outs ahead of the Helton walk. One and two. With Brower coming in, Giants make 3 defensive changes. In the double switch, they bring in Edgardo Alfonso. He replaces Feliz at third. Feliz moves to left, and Alou moves from left to right, where Michael Tucker had been before he was pulled in the double switch. Nice stop by Matheny, 2-2. So 4 new faces right now out there for the Giants. And leading off the 8th, it will be Alfonso batting in the pitcher spot, the number 9 hole. Wilson waves at one, almost in the dirt. Brower comes in to put out the threat and bring it to the 8th here in Denver. 2-2. Anywhere, log on to ESPN.com for MLB.tv. Live Major League Baseball right to your desktop with the most baseball available anywhere, live online by logging on to ESPN.com. Sign up for MLB.tv and never miss a game again. MLB.tv. Now on ESPN.com. Sign up today. Corey Sullivan has replaced Preston Wilson in center field. Wilson left 6 men on. Jay Watasa comes on for the 9th time after Sean Chacon goes 7 innings, and both starters effective with no decision to show for it. 7 innings, 2 runs on 5 hits, 5 strikeouts. And Chacon, only the 2nd time this year, did not walk a bat. So here is Edgardo Alfonso batting in the number 9 spot. He entered on a defensive switch. Checks his swing. A ball and a strike.
Yeah, Alfonso got off to a great start this year. From opening day, hit a home run and drove in some runs. He was swinging the bat well. He, like a lot of the Giants, have been struggling lately. And you say he's hitting 306, yes, but he was hitting 350, and it just kind of dropped down.
They're still 18th in the league with the 306. But first 14 games, Alfonso was hitting a Barmas-like 451. 3 balls and a strike.
And this is, if you're the manager, you say, well, he comes in, he throws first pitch strike, and now he gets himself into a hitter's count in a hitter's ballpark.
Toward the gap. Left center field. Holiday is there.
And he just missed that. It sounded like he got in on the hands just a little bit. And let's take a look at the swing. It looked like the ball got in on him a little bit. Yeah, you can see it running in on him, tailing in, and he didn't quite get the barrel out there. If that ball's an inch further out on the bat, I think it goes out of the ballpark.
Durham now top of the order, 0 for 3. Has struck out his last 2 trips. More on Jason Stark's ESPN.com report about Barry Bonds. We said he is attached to an IV, antibiotics pumped in 24 hours a day with no end in sight. Dealing with a potentially serious post-operative infection that has him essentially immobilized for the foreseeable future. This and Jason Stark's report on ESPN.com right now. There is no rehab at this point, and Bond's case is in the hands of an infectious disease specialist. Through the middle, and Ray Durham has his first hit. He's aboard with 1 out in the 8th. So the Bond situation could be a matter of days. It could be a matter of weeks. Jason reports that infections to the knee are particularly precarious because of the risk of infection to the bone itself. And of course, Bond's medical team will be extra cautious with him before they decide to clear him to resume his rehab. So discouraging news on the Barry Bonds front today. Omar Vizquel also 0 for 3.
Maybe we should have Marty go on to Barry's.com line and check it out. See if there's anything on there from Barry.
If he's able to update his website and the medical situation he's in, he's a trooper. Runner goes. Chopper only to play at first. And Barnes throws out Vizquel for out number 2.
Well, the Giants were trying to get a hit and run there, and they had the right person covering. The shortstop was covering, but Vizquel could not hit it through the vacated hole on the left side. And you see the second baseman's not there. The shortstop is going to the bag, but the ball is hit near the bag, so it becomes an easy play for Barnes.
Bob Apodaca, Rockies pitching coach, out. First visit by either Apodaca or Clint Hurdle to the mound at all today. This Colorado pitching has been so sharp. Chacon in the first 7, and now Watasic. Well, back on April 5th, Barry Bonds gave the home crowd at SBC Park in San Francisco reason to hope.
I think the city of San Francisco, you fans, there are no greater fans in the world besides here in San Francisco, and I will be back.
Very emphatic, but on a 24-hour IV, and in fact his last entry on his website, Marty's research shows, was 5 days ago, May 13th. So we just hope that he fights off this post-op infection and at some point resumes his rehab. 1-0. JT Snow has singled in 3 trips. That was his last trip. That also came with 2 outs back in the 6th. Since the All-Star break last year, only Ichiro has a higher average since that point last year than JT Snow's 360. Ichiro 399 since the 04 break.
And Watasic got warning to give in there 2-0, threw him a 2-0 slider, and JT took it. We have Moises Alou on deck. He's the RBI guy in this situation that you'd like to get up there if you're the Giants. So I think if you're the Giants, you do not mind him walking JT Snow. I mean, JT Snow has 7 runs batted in for the season. Moises Alou has 12, and they've both been injured for a while, but Moises Alou his track record is much better at being an RBI man.
Snow just 3 games back off of intestinal situation. Does work the 2-out walk. And Moises Alou, who's 0 for 3 on the day, will have the go-ahead run. Ray Durham down at second, Snow at first here in the 8th.
And that's when he's most dangerous, when he doesn't have a base hit, because he is a good hitter.
Well, this is .320 over his last 14 games to get him up past 148, where his average was after his first 9 games in a Giant uniform.
And he's a good first ball fastball hitter, so you have to be aware of that if you're the pitcher. And he was from breaking ball slider.
The walk to Snow, the first walk by Rocky pitchers today, and as a staff they have walked more than anybody in the National League, 186 on the year now.
And remember, Apodaca went out and talked to him, and I think he probably told him, if you want to pitch around Snow, go ahead.
In there at the knees, 1-1. Rocky staff also with the most wild pitches in the National League, second most hit batsmen. And the Giants, with their struggles with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, at the bottom of the heap. 2-1 on the check swing.
And Moise is showing a lot of patience, and Watasic's making a lot of good pitches, down and away, down and away. And Moises is waiting for that one mistake that he might make.
Well, if the Rockies end up hitting more batters than anybody else and maintain their leads in those other categories, the last National League staff to lead all those categories, the Braves, in 78. Throw in balks, and they also have the most in the National League in that category, 4. Earlier today, the Giants saw their first balk all season, charged to the starter Hennessy. So 3-1 here to Alou. As his dad watches, in the 8th inning, a chance to give the Giants their first lead of the day, and it's back into the upper deck, 3-2.
Good job there by Watasic. He had to give in and throw a fastball, but he got it up and in. They like to try to keep the ball in tight on Alou if you're going to throw the fastball. But now he's given himself a chance to get out of the inning by making one good pitch with a slider if he wants to go that route.
Both runs on solo homers today. First multi-homer game for them since May 3rd. And he got him on the breaking ball, low and away. So Watasic works through the 8th and keeps it 2-2. Rocky half of the 8th now. Dave Barnett and Joe Morgan at Coors Field. Brad Hawk, Matt Holliday, and Todd Green against Jim Brower, the 3rd Giant pitcher, who struck out Preston Wilson to leave 2 on in the 7th. Hawk, the very productive rookie right fielder, with 2 singles in his first 3 trips today, drove in his 21st run in the Rockies' 2-run first. Since then, 6 straight scoreless innings by Hennessy, Air, and now Brower. Pop up, drifting into foul territory and run down by Vizquel. Nice basket catch. 1 gone in the 8th.
The angle is the whole thing on this play. The shortstop has a much better angle, as you can see, than does the 3rd baseman Alfonso. So he can go right directly to the ball. It would have been an over-the-shoulder catch for Alfonso.
Vizquel makes it look easy. 1 out. Matt Holliday, who was 0 for 3. Last night, his first home run.
Say his first home run, 130 plus at bats.
138.
Right? Yeah. And I laughed when I read his quote today. He said, "It's always good to get that first one out of the way." Yeah.
Well, especially if you wait till May 18th.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The longer you wait, the more you appreciate it.
Yeah.
The lone Rocky left-hander, Brian Fuentes, is up, hoping that he will have a shot to close out a victory.
You know, the difference here, we're watching the hitters and how, you know, they're swinging a lot of bad pitches now. Remember, Chacon and Hennessy were throwing a lot of fastballs in the strike zone, so they were more comfortable. See the ball, go hit it. Now they're getting a lot more breaking balls from Watasic and also Brower. They're both breaking ball pitchers, so that's the difference. And that's also the reason why hitting is such a tough thing to do. You have to adjust to different styles.
3-2. The Rockies have only 3 saves all year. Remember, they've only won 11 games. All 3 are by Chen-Wei Sao, who's on the DL with a shoulder problem. He was to be examined today in Los Angeles by Dr. Louis Yoakum. So Fuentes, who's got a .265 ERA in his first 22 appearances, ready to fill that role if given the chance. Called strike 3, second strikeout in 3 batters faced by Brower.
And that was a smart pitch there because he had Holiday looking for a breaking ball because he threw him so many. And what does he do? Throw him a fastball down the middle. He takes it. Take a look at the way he pitched to. There's the fastball right there. He was looking for a breaking ball, but we saw Moises Alou take a lot of swings at brutal swings, we should say, at breaking balls.
2 outs for Todd Green, who had a 2-run homer last night in a 9-4 Colorado win. Has not gotten it out of the infield yet. Bounce to the pitcher. Sent a shot to third. Feliz robbed him in the 4th. Fielder's choice last time. In the Giant 9th, Feliz, the pitcher spot, and Jason Ellison are due. Waves at that one almost in the dirt. 1-2 to Green.
You would think if the sun was out that they were having trouble picking up the spin on the ball, but it's not that bright out, but they're still chasing a lot of breaking balls.
In the twilight in Denver. 1-2. Matheny stops at 2-2. Field completely encompassed by shadows now. This was a 5:05 local start in Denver. Rockies led 2-0 after their first at bat. They've never trailed. Matheny homered in the 3rd. Feliz homered in the 7th. That's all they got off Colorado starter Sean Chacon. Rockies got their 2 in the 1st off Brad Hennessy, and nothing from the 2nd inning on. Base hit up the middle. Green is aboard with 2 outs. In the last 3 innings, Joe, they've left 6 on, including the bases loaded in the 5th. So they keep giving themselves chances.
Well, Green did a good job there. He said he was sitting on the breaking ball. He got a little slider and he hit it back up the middle.
So Garrett Atkins, the rookie out of Orange, California, first UCLA 3-time All-America, 5th-round draft pick in 2000. He has an infield single in 3 trips. Gets away briefly from Matheny. No chance for Green to advance. Garrett Atkins last night, 2 hits, including a double, drove in his 6th run of the year. All 6 of his runs batted in the last 5 games. None in his first 11. He opened the season on the DL with a right hamstring problem. Strike at the knees, 1-1.
You have to give Brower credit. He's making some quality pitches down and away. So far, he's not hung anything in the middle of the plate.
Another base hit, and there are 2 on with 2 out. And the second straight 2-hit evening for Atkins off Giant pitching. Green down to 2nd. And Corey Sullivan. He came on in the 7th. Grounded out to J.T. Snow at first. Dave Righetti, the Giant pitching coach. There's 2-2 in the 8th. Third Giant pitcher of the day, Jim Brower, on in relief of Scott Air, who followed 6 2/3 strong innings from the starter Brad Hennessy. J.D. Closser is out to pinch run for Todd Green at second. Ball 1 to Sullivan, rookie from Tulsa. Before sitting out all last year, 2 years previous, he led the Rocky organization in hits and led the Texas League, in fact. So he's moved up the ladder pretty steadily. 7th round pick out of Wake Forest, 2001. When he was an All-America and the MVP of the ACC tournament that year. Matt Hergis, Jason Christensen from each side loosening in the Giant bullpen. 1-1, 2 balls and a strike. Giants trying to end a 3-game losing streak, which has dropped them 2 games under 500 and 5.5 games off the San Diego Padres pace in the National League West. Rockies just trying to get a win. They just need them any way they can. That's just foul. 2-2. Colorado at 11-25. Lou Hurdle last year played 18 rookies, a club record, and he's already used 11 different rookies this year. At the moment, 8 are on the roster. 3 more Rockies in less than 2 years of service. Probably out of the zone, but Sullivan stays alive on it. 44% of Clint Hurdle's roster with under 2 years of major league experience, the youngest team in the majors. Even younger than Kansas City, 27.5, the average age here in Colorado. Another 2-2. Also probably out of the zone, so he just swung at balls 3 and 4 and could have loaded the bases.
Well, that was a good pitch by Brower because he's trying to get him to go out of the zone. He knows that they figure his best pitch is his slider, so he's trying to throw a fastball out of the zone, get him to chase it. Now he's with 2 high fastballs. He's got him set up for a slider, and let's see what happens here. I think Brower wanted to throw a slider there, and Matheny wanted to throw something else. We'll see who wins.
Brower got the first 2 outs pretty quickly. Pop fouled out, Holiday struck out, and then Green with the single, Atkins with the single.
I think the point is, if your best pitch is your slider, you have to throw it now.
Sullivan's going to make him wait longer yet. He's already thrown 24 pitches this inning. 18 strikes, 11 balls, 29 pitches, including the strikeout of Wilson with 2 on in the 7th. How much longer can we drag this up?
Well, you know, I guess he thought better of it, and now he wants to change. I mean, that's why the catcher went out there, so they'd be on the same page. And I guess they had decided on a pitch, and Brower went to a stretch and decided that wasn't the pitch that he wanted to throw.
Ready again. Sullivan with 4 runs batted in on the year. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
So I think you had to throw that pitch if you're Brower, because that's your best pitch. You know, you've thrown 2 high fastballs. The guy chased both of them. Maybe he'll chase the slider. So I think that was the right pitch at that point.
Runners go. Bounced. Second baseman Ray Durham. Routine. And the Rockies leave 2 more. They have left 8 in the last 4 innings. Wednesday Night Baseball built by the Home Depot. And we move on to the 9th. Tied at 2. Rockies bring on the left-hander Brian Fuentes, 29 in his 5th year. He's their 3rd pitcher. And making his 23rd appearances. Coming in today, Luis Ayala of Washington and Kelly Wunsch of LA had also appeared in 23 games. They led the majors, so Fuentes again sees action. His scoreless streak covers his last 10 appearances. 7 in the 3rd inning. Closser, who pinch ran for Todd Green, stays in to replace him behind the plate. Pedro Feliz, the reason we are tied at 2. And he sends a first pitch to right, base hit to lead off the 9th. Feliz, who homered to lead off the 7th, also doubled in the 2nd. He's had a big night, 3 for 4. Davy Cruz now to bat in what was, following a double switch earlier, the pitcher's spot.
He took a long look down at 3rd base. I don't know if they would bunt in this situation. Yeah, it looks like they will.
Cruz is 286.
He's a real good hitter against left-handed pitching.
2 homers, has driven in 5, and he bunts foul back to the screen. Shortstop, despite the fact he began last year at Fresno, didn't come up till late April. Swinging away, and he sends it to right. Hop is back off the scoreboard, and it gets away on a long bounce from Hop. Feliz is headed home, and the relay is way late. A pinch hit RBI triple for Davy Cruz. 3-2. The Giants have their first lead.
And what was smart about that was, you know, Felipe Aludamander taking the bunt off. Because most of the time when you're bunting, they're going to try to throw you a fastball because the fastball is the toughest pitch to bunt, especially a high fastball. So he takes it off, and as I said, Davy Cruz is a very good hitter against left-handed pitching. This should be a high fastball, yeah. And he just drills it off the right field wall, and it bounces away. That's why Feliz was able to score.
His first triple of the year, 3-2 San Francisco. Now Jason Ellison, who's 0 for 3.
And the Rockies are playing the infield in. And it was also a good job of base running by Feliz. Once he saw the right fielder turn and go back, he saw the ball was going to be over his head. He took off, and that's why he was able to score from first base on that play.
Teams are still learning about Brad Hopp's arm and right. He's tied for the major league lead with 5 outfield assists. But because of that, Karam off the scoreboard never really had a chance. In there at the knees, 1 and 2.
Well, actually, he went too close to the wall. You see, he wasn't going to be able to catch it. You can't run all the way to the wall because the ball's always going to hit the running track and bounce away. And you can see Feliz was running all the way, and that's good base running there, and he scored because if he didn't take off right away, they would have held him at third.
Hop straight up. Chased by Closser, and it comes back out of play. So Pedro Feliz scores the tying and go-ahead runs for the San Francisco Giants. Tied it on his homer in the 7th. Reads Fuentes with a single and scores on Davy Cruz's pinch RBI triple here in the 9th. Cruz an insurance run, the 1-2 pitch. The infield in, and that will be 4 unassisted as Miles wins the race to the bag. Ellison 0 for 4. Now Mike Matheny, who got the Giants on the board with a leadoff homer in the 3rd. Since then has flied to center twice. His 4th homer of the year. 1 less than his total for all of last season with St. Louis.
If you're the Giants, you'll take that fly ball to center field right here just to get the run home.
Back in the 3rd on a 3-1 pitch from Sean Chacon. A no-doubter more than halfway up the stands and left. One of only 5 hits Chacon allowed in his 7. But a couple of extra base hits by Feliz. A double and his tying home run in the 7th prevent Chacon from winning his 2nd of the year. Chacon is still not allowed more than 4 runs in any game this year. But he will remain 1-3. Even as sharp as he was in a walk-free outing today. In there at the knees, 0-2.
Pretty good pitch there by Fuentes. The ball was sinking a little bit as well. And watch, this ball is sinking a little bit. That keeps Matheny from getting it in the air. At least that was his intention.
Liner to center field. On the run, Sullivan is there. Runner tags. The throw to the plate. He is out. And Cruz puts off an argument that gets him thrown out by Laz Diaz. The Rockies in the inning with a double play. But the Giants scored a go-ahead run. And to the 9th for Colorado. Top of the order due up. Last chance for Colorado. They trailed 3-2. It was almost 4-2 as we watch how they ended the Giants half of the 9th inning. On the double play, Sullivan throwing out Davy Cruz at the plate. But was he out?
Well, when I first saw it, I thought he had blocked him off the plate, but he did not. And the replays will show that Cruz's foot was on top of the bag when he tagged him. And he got thrown out not for getting in his face, but for throwing the helmet. Let's take another look. I think this angle will show you a better. But we're going to see the throw. If we can see his foot is actually on the plate when he is tagged. He comes right, watch the catcher, he comes right down on the plate and his foot is already there. But, you know, I'm being honest with you, I can see where Laz Diaz called him out. It wasn't like it was clear cut that he was in there. Because the throw did beat him.
Major League's leading hitter, Vargas, to start off the 9th inning. Best angle right there. And the foot is all the way across the plate before the tag is applied.
See,
it looks like.
And that's what Cruz is saying. He tagged me on the leg, but I was already across.
To right field. Not that deep. Alou has the first out. Tyler Walker is in, hoping for his 4th save of the year. 17th appearance, 2-0 with a .432 earned run average. 4th Giant pitcher of the day.
And remember, he is taking the place of Armando Benitez, who was signed over the winter to be the closer and was doing a good job.
Aaron Miles, who is 3 for 4. Singled and scored the first of the only 2 Rocky runs, which both came in the first inning. Also in the 5th and the 7th. If the Rockies lose this one, they're going to look at missed opportunities in the 5th through 8th inning. They left the bases loaded in the 5th, 1 on in the 6th, and 2 on in each of the next 2 innings. 8 left on in those 4, 10 left on for the day. Sprayed. Alfonso in tight, makes it look easy. Miles is retired, 2 gone in the 9th.
But you have to get through the best hitter on the ball club now, and Todd Helton.
Todd Helton, who in the first inning doubled home Miles and then scored on hop single. The last 2 trips he has walked on what looked like unintentional intentional walks. 5 homers on the year. Rips that one. Right field. Alou has it. And the Giants end their 3-game losing streak. In come from behind fashion. Down 2-0 after the first inning. Their pitching shuts down the Colorado Rocky bats in the top offensive park in the major leagues, and Brower gets the win in relief. Walker nails down his 4th save.
And the Giants have to be happy with their relief pitch, and they did the job. But I think the real key was Felipe Alou deciding to let David Cruz swing instead of sacrificing him in the second base. And I don't like to see sacrifices when you're on the road like that anyway, especially a place like Coors Field. But they got the job done, and they break their losing streak.
3-2 San Francisco, our final here at Coors Field. For Joe Morgan and our entire ESPN crew, this is Dave Barnett, and this